He had killed countless people and once served in one of the most brutal U.S. Special Forces units. Yet he stayed silent when his coworkers bullied him at work. Even when they mocked him as being slow, he just took all his anger out on the stone wall in front of him. He kept hammering away from morning until night, because only in this way could Frank briefly forget the pain of losing his wife and children. It wasn't until the handle of the hammer was stained with blood that Frank reluctantly put it down. His thick calluses were covered with blisters, but even so, the next morning he still showed up early at the construction site. He was like a machine built for breaking walls, without any emotion. His coworkers mocked him as a fool, a madman, and even accused him of disturbing their collective interests by working illegally overtime, which only made them more brazen in harassing him. One bald coworker kicked over Frank's lunchbox and stomped his sandwich into mush. Thinking his petty power would scare Frank, he even had the nerve to threaten him.
You don't want me for an enemy, man.
If this had been the old Frank, the bald man would soon have regretted ever being born. But Frank had changed. All he wanted now was to be a nobody, to use the exhaustion of wall breaking to remember his dead wife and punish the part of himself that had survived. But unexpectedly, a sudden conflict dragged him back into the whirlpool. Since his lunch was ruined, Frank had no choice but to sit alone up high, lost in thought. Not everyone at the construction site was rotten to the core, though. A young man named Donnie saw Frank had nothing to eat, so he shared his lunch with him. Frank felt Donnie's kindness, but he also knew the saying that the hand that takes is tied. Out loud, he warned Donnie that he didn't want to make friends, but secretly, he had already remembered this kindness. During lunch break, Frank accidentally overheard the bald man and some coworkers plotting to rob a casino. At first, he didn't want to get involved, but the bald man, seemingly with a death wish, kept provoking him. He even warned Frank that if he didn't want the hammer smashing into his head, he'd better keep quiet. Frank didn't respond, but the murderous look in his eyes was impossible to miss. Just when the tension was about to explode, an accident interrupted them. A worker violated safety rules and had his arm crushed by a steel pipe, leaving him permanently disabled. Coincidentally, this man was one of the robbery crew.